In the Ahom dynasty of Indrapura province, within the Sword Martin mansion of the Bishnoi commandery, Mandy was practicing swordplay. Mandy, the edge of your sword can be sharper. It can carry more power, a young man said to the girl wielding the sword. Okay, those days are behind us now, Mandy replied, increasing the speed of her sword. Dressed in clothes as white as snow, she was a beautiful girl practicing with full dedication in the courtyard of the Martin mansion. Her sword moved with incredible speed. Standing beside her was a young man, Yug Bishnoi. Dressed in black, he was guiding Mandy. Both appeared to be around 15 or 16 years old. Yug, with his keen gaze, was observing every flaw in Mandy's technique and correcting her. After finishing her practice, Mandy sheathed her sword and smiled at Yug Bishnoi. "Brother Yug Bishnoi, how is my swordplay?" she asked. "The Aurora sword art requires speed. If someone can complete it in 40 breaths, they reach the profound level. You did it in 38 breaths. That is very good," Yug Bishnoi replied. Mandy said, "Without your help, I wouldn't have reached this level in 2 months." Yug Bishnoi silently nodded. He knew his guidance was a factor, but Mandy's natural talent played a significant role. In the Sword Martin mansion, where most people prioritized swordplay, Mandy was the most capable after Bishnoi. "Brother Yug Bishnoi, how much time does it take you to complete the Aurora sword art? 30 breaths?" In 30 breaths, Yug Bishnoi smiled but didn't answer. If someone completed the Aurora sword art in 30 breaths, they would be at the profound level. However, if Yug Bishnoi exerted his full strength, he could complete it in 23 breaths. This meant he had already reached great heights. Given your talent in swordplay, you could complete it in less than 30 breaths, Yug thought, but he looked at Mandy with hesitation and sadness. Yug understood what she wanted to say. He smiled and said, "Don't worry, I will become a warrior." "Really?" Mandy was skeptical. She had heard the same thing 4 years ago. Yug Bishnoi was a direct disciple of the Sword Martin mansion. His father was the master of the Sword Pavilion, considered the most powerful in the mansion. Yug grew up under his father's guidance. Because of this, he held a special position from the start and was counted among the top disciples of the younger generation. But 4 years ago, when he was 12, everything changed. That year, his father left on a journey and never returned. No one knew where he was. The same year, when Yug Bishnoi was supposed to cultivate spiritual power and become a warrior, he discovered that no matter how hard he tried, he could not cultivate spiritual power. Without spiritual power, becoming a warrior was impossible. In the Sword Martin mansion, where strength was everything, such a person was considered trash. Over the past 4 years, Yug Bishnoi hadn't given up. He kept alive the dream of taking his father's place and leading the Sword Pavilion. But the reality was cruel. Although Yug Bishnoi could not cultivate spiritual power, his talent for swordplay was extraordinary. Since childhood, he had been learning swordplay under his father's instruction. Due to his talent and his father's teachings, he quickly grasped the sword arts. Despite his youth, he was #1 in swordplay, but without spiritual power, swordplay meant nothing. This time, truly, Yug Bishnoi said with confidence. Mandy replied with a smile, but she didn't believe it. Just then, Lancher Bishnoi, a middle-aged man, entered the courtyard. "Father," Mandy called. "Uncle Lancher," Yug Bishnoi said. This man was Mandy's father, Lancher Bishnoi, the great elder of the Red Martial Hall of the Sword Martin mansion. "Yug Bishnoi, you spent the whole day teaching Mandy swordplay. Thank you very much," Lancher Bishnoi said with a smile. "No problem," Yug Bishnoi nodded. "Uncle Lancher, it's getting late. I should go." "Okay." Lancher Bishnoi and Mandy watched him leave. As soon as Yug Bishnoi was out of sight, Lancher's face hardened. "Mandy, what level have you reached?" Lancher asked in a serious tone.
I have reached the profound level in the Aurora sword art, Mandy replied seriously. Well done. Enthusiasm appeared on Lancer's face. For the past 4 years, you have been engaged in learning swordplay with that good-for-nothing every day. The fruit of 4 years of hard work has now been reaped. Now you have learned all 18 first-class sword arts of the Sword Pavilion to the profound level. Now the next step is to implement our plan. Yug Bishnoi grit his teeth. Father, should we really do this? Mandy asked with cold and ruthless eyes. Those who do big things don't worry about small things. Lancer's eyes hardened. Everything depends on tomorrow. Scene: Yug Bishnoi's room. Yug Bishnoi returned to his courtyard. After quickly eating something, he sat on his bed in a comfortable posture. When he told Mandy that he would become a warrior soon, he didn't believe it himself. Yug Bishnoi smiled and placed his hand on his stomach. In his stomach was a gray stone gem that had been there since birth, and no one knew where it came from. This very gem was preventing him from becoming a warrior. People thought Yug Bishnoi could not cultivate spiritual power, but only Yug knew that his 108 meridians were already open. Cultivating spiritual power was easy for him. However, whatever spirit he drew from nature would be absorbed into the gray stone gem in his stomach, so it would disappear before becoming spiritual power. For the past 4 years, he had been accumulating spirit every day to fill that gem, so that one day it would be satisfied and stop swallowing his spiritual power. Yesterday, he felt that the gem was full. Today, it was about to reach its peak. Let's start again. Yug began his daily practice. As he thought, the gem drew more spirit, and finally it reached its limit. The gem began to spin rapidly and gradually became smaller. Suddenly, that gem that had been in his body for years disappeared with a jolt. Gone. The gem was gone. A gleam of joy appeared in Yug's eyes, but the very next moment he was startled. Disappeared? The gem disappeared? In place of the gem, a flood surged. Heavenly creation skill. The creation of the supreme martial art from the creation technique of nature.